So what we're going to do next, we're actually out here underneath the wing of the Clipper Tabitha May, right? This is a DC-3, and we're going to be chatting with some of the crew members about where the aircraft came from, what they do, what their plans are the rest of the day, what were they just doing with the engine even, like what problem did the engine have maybe, and see if they could talk to us a little bit. But if you're just joining us, if you're wondering what's going on, we're at the Duxford Airfield. The Imperial War Museum in Duxford, UK. There's a T6 trainer landing behind us. They have this massive air show going on today. There's supposed to be up to 10,000 people. Yeah, look at that, cinematic. There's supposed to be up to 10,000 people out here. There's all sorts of people watching from the fence lines over here. We, with our camera crew, are actually on the flight line, sitting underneath the wing of a DC-3. So this event is going on today here in Duxford, but all week we're sort of commemorating the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Of course, D-Day, the invasion, liberation force, where the Allied forces actually crossed the Channel and got a foothold back into France to sort of turn the tide of World War II, right? So all this week we're doing these live streams here from Duxford today. Probably we got a couple more hours here at Duxford, and then we're going to be hopping on a train. We're going to be crossing the Channel, and we're going to end up down in France, down in Caen, France, and visit some of the actual beaches of Normandy. These planes here at this airport that are staging and practicing, they're actually practicing because they're going to be doing flyovers over the Channel, over the beaches of Normandy in commemoration of D-Day there. So again. Oh yeah, there you go. See, there you, in case you missed it, the Dragon Rapide is giving rides. Fly a Harvard or Dragon Rapide and view a 6-strip Dakota formation. Nice. We're not doing the train. We're doing the train crossing. Wait, what? I'm confused by what you mean there. Anyways, y'all, we're out here. We're live. This is Twitch chat on my phone, and whenever we get a second here, are we ready to chat with the crew? I think we're about ready to chat with the crew, y'all. Train. Yes, I did say train. That's correct. We are currently scheduled to get on a train and cross the Channel.
Yeah, it goes under the Channel.
That goes under
the
Channel.
It goes under the Channel.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Where should we stand? Where's the best place for us to stand?
Anywhere under the wing is a good place.
Anywhere under the wing, I like it. So what's your name?
Paul Gollnick.
Paul, I've been standing underneath your plane,
yes,
and I don't even know your name.
Yes, nice to meet you guys.
I don't feel like that's the right way to do it, but I gotta say thank you so much for allowing us to come out here and watch y'all work on the plane, watch the operations behind us. I mean, y'all are just fantastic.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah.
We got it fixed, which is always a plus.
It sounded like you got it fixed.
Good airplane now.
It is. So are y'all supposed
to? Happy.
It is. Are y'all supposed to fly later today, or what's your schedule
right
like?
Now, we don't know right now. It's
all right.
All up in the air right now, but we're waiting to hear back from them. They'll tell us when we're ready to go. So
cool.
We're gonna get our lead mechanic back and put it all back together, and hopefully we're ready to fly in a couple hours.
Hopefully ready to fly in a couple hours. What was wrong with it? Do you mind telling us like what happened?
Left magneto had shifted out about 5 degrees, so it was not starting properly.
Okay.
So we ended up replacing the magneto, retiming the other one, checking a couple of oil leaks, and that should be it.
How does that work? Like, did you bring extra parts?
Yeah,
did you have to get it shipped in?
We've got about 1,000 pounds of spare parts on the airplane right now.
1,000 pounds of spare parts?
Wow. We've got the whole tail full. We've got a crate in the middle full. Yeah, we picked up about, I'm thinking almost 500 parts with us between the seals and hardware and stuff like that.
So how does that work? Like, is there like a DC-3 Amazon and you just go and search for DC-3 Magneto and it comes up, or?
You can't get them. Luckily, this airplane, when we bought it, came with a container load full of spares. So, we've got a pretty good spares outfit, but otherwise it's in the community for the most part.
It's in the community, right?
So
somebody needs this, and get on the horn and start asking. Gotcha. So you said before the plane was bought, or when you bought it, it came with a set of spares.
Yeah, we actually got a shipping container with it that came with nothing but spare parts.
So who owns the aircraft? Like, where it's based in DC, I think.
It's based, it's a PMDG Flight Operations operates the airplane out of DC. So
okay.
Captain's Robert Randazzo.
Right.
He was just here. So yeah, the airplane's based out of DC, privately owned. We just fly it for fun for the most part.
Fly it for fun, no kidding. Yeah. Somebody mentioned, what was the pilot's name, the owner's name?
Robert Randazzo.
Randazzo. Somebody mentioned that name in chat.
Yes.
So there's some people watching the show right now who know about this plane.
With our simulators.
Yeah, the simulators.
PMDG Flight Simulator.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm actually one of them too. I'm actually the sport guy for PMDG. So
really?
We all work together and then we all fly together. So.
That's really cool. Is this so? I imagine there's a DC-3 with PMDG. Like the flight simulator?
No, there isn't.
There isn't? What do you mean?
We've discussed doing. We have a DC-6.
Yeah.
But there's discussion that a DC-3 may happen at some point.
Right. So when you say flight simulator, you mean like a real flight simulator, not a game?
This is like the Lockheed Martin Prepare 3D builds a simulator, and what's the other group now? FSX team has got two flight simulators for commercial or for people can buy them and use them on their simulator.
Really?
Their computers.
On their computers at home.
Yep.
So it's not just training pilots. It's you.
No, it's just we do it for fun. So.
We're gonna have to stream this sometimes, I think. That sounds like a good time. So we play video games, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then we come out and see stuff like this,
There
but
you
I've
go.
never played that game. Played that game. He's gonna slap me.
Prepare 3D and FSX Team. Check them out. And then we make the add-on airplanes for them that make it about as real as you can get. So.
Okay. So did you fly over here with the plane?
We did.
You did?
I was part of the team that flew over.
You were part of the
actually
team.
Had to get off in Iceland because we ran out of days off, so I had
Right.
to fly back to the States. But the guys finished the flight over here and then left it here for about a week.
Right.
We all had to go back to the States for work, and then we all came back.
God. So for work, like, do you work for this company with the plane, or this is like a side gig for you?
This is a side job. I work
side
for Delta
thing.
as a mechanic.
You work for Delta as a mechanic. That's why you were standing underneath the engine, and we weren't, because he knows what he's doing.
One reason,
So
certainly.
I've done it a little bit.
You've done it a little bit.
Walking under an engine.
I was concerned for your elbow. At one point, you were sort of
Yeah.
holding your arm up like this, and I'm like, ah.
I know where the prop arc is.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you knew where the prop mark
I know where
was.
the prop arc is.
Do you still work on any prop planes with Delta, or is it mostly
No,
it's
I
all
work
jets?
on 757s and large jets.
That's what I flew over here on, a 757.
Yep, we do Boeings. I'm part of the Boeing team for them. I'm one of their fleet specialists. So. And then on the side, work on a DC-3.
Working on DC-3. It's like the new and the old, I guess.
Exactly.
No kidding. So
It's totally different.
so how's it been over here? I mean, y'all have been up in the air?
Yeah, we haven't actually been able to fly since we got here.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
The starting issue kind of followed us in.
Right?
We had it on the way across. We had issues with it in Narsisuik, so we been kind of fighting it to get it across.
Gotcha.
So we really didn't want to do much flying until we had it sorted
Until
out.
it was all sorted out, right?
We're ready to go now. So
Yeah.
once we get it all back together, we'll be ready to fly. So.
Good deal. Well, I hope y'all get some fair winds and stuff. Mechanical, everything's good, and you get her in the air later.
Stays good, and we can get some good flying.
Yeah. So where are you going next? I mean, we're here at Duxford. Is there a schedule?
Yeah, so we were supposed to go to Cannes with the group here, but I'm hearing the schedule is kind of up in limbo right now.
Up in
So
limbo?
we're kinda
Yeah.
we're kind of waiting to see what happens now. So.
Okay.
Well, we're just here for the fun. We're all having a good time.
Yeah, no kidding. I gotta say, it's so nice. It's amazing that y'all maintain these aircraft this way, because it's a piece of history, right? It's cool engineering,
It is.
but it's a piece of history.
Yeah.
So
It's
what does it
probably
take?
3 hours of work for every hour you fly.
3 hours? That sounds like streaming sometimes.
Wow. Pretty much. Yeah, it's a lot more work to maintain it and keep it looking this way than it is to put the hours on it. And fly
Right,
it,
because
unfortunately.
like you said, it's not. There's just the parts aren't readily available.
No, parts, like I said, it's 1930s technology, so it has its issues.
What sort of issues does it have? Do you have like upgrades done to it? Has it been modernized any?
Yeah,
or?
we've done a lot to this airplane. I mean, this airplane, when we bought it, looked nothing like this. They've gone through it from tip to tail.
Yeah.
And then 2 new motors on it. They've upgraded the whole front end with a Garmin package up front and some improved avionics, redid the interior. So, I mean, it's had a lot of work done to it. So it looks nothing like the airplane we bought.
No kidding.
So.
Do you know where it was before it was bought and restored?
It
or?
was an ERA airplane up in Alaska. It was
Okay.
for ERA Airlines. It was one of the last Part 121 DC-3s operating in the world.
Wow. So
Operated till 2002 when the secure cockpit door mandate came out.
we heard that, so it was harder to
It sealed
secure
it
the
off.
cockpit, so
Yeah,
you couldn't really
nobody
fly
wanted to
them
spend $1 million to develop the bulletproof door, so they
Yeah.
retired the airplane.
Oh,
So
God.
it sat for about 7 or 8 years, and then we bought it.
It's crazy. That's 60 years, almost 70 years worth of service.
Yeah.
In the design, not the specific
Yeah.
aircraft,
Oh,
but in
yeah.
the design. Imagine technology like is my smartphone still going to be working in 60 years?
Not likely.
Probably not. So it's just
not.
amazing that these things that were designed with our technological level that long ago
Yeah,
still fly.
It's amazing that they work this well. And everything still works really well.
Yeah.
It's really well designed.
God.
The amount of work that went into designing these airplanes is just crazy.
No kidding. Chat, so here's a good time. If y'all have any questions, since we're live, I'm going to bring up chat real quick, and I'm going to see if y'all have any questions. It's going to take me just a second. The other thing that I want y'all to do, tell us where you're, don't tell us where you're watching from right now. That's not a good idea at the same time as questions, honestly. I was trying to fill the time there a little bit. Do you just work on the aircraft? When you fly on it, do you have a job?
I'll fly too. I'll fly when we're in cruise. So
Right.
I usually have 3 or 4 people on board since it doesn't have an autopilot.
Right.
So I'll help out and fly. When we're,
Okay.
when we, not as often. We normally carry a lot of extra pilots on board, so
Gotcha.
I normally work on the airplane.
Keep it flying.
Oh, yeah.
And the pilots fly it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like I said, there's plenty of work. 3 hours work for every hour.
For every hour of flying.
Wow.
And we had a great camera angle down here. We were watching, and the pilot up there was actually leaning out of the window. I guess the pilot or somebody was leaning out of the window.
That was Robert.
That was Robert. Okay, and he was leaning out of the window and sort of like giving hand signals and stuff like that.
That's about the only way you can communicate at that level.
We couldn't communicate.
Yeah.
It's a good
Well,
converter.
I can see in mouth that sounds a whole lot better.
Yeah.
It sounds
Yeah.
much better. The first test he did, I could tell he was happier.
Yeah, it was definitely, it's much improved from where we were at, so we were very happy with everything came together the way it did here. So
Yeah.
luckily we had the parts we needed, and we should be in good shape.
You had like a couple different tests you did. Like you ran it up,
Yeah,
and you
we did
turned it
the
off.
initial one. Really, so we were more concerned about the start, so we were going to do a cold start, and then we did a hot start.
Right.
And then we did the run up to verify the mag check, verify the mags are within limits, and then they did a match power setting, verify that the engines are making the same
Making
power.
the same power.
So-
And we saw some of the, I guess, the prop wash coming after. The grass was just laying
Oh,
flat.
Yeah,
So-
that's almost takeoff thrust, so it's a
Really?
lot of power when they pull the mag check.
And the brakes just hold, or no, I guess the props are.
Well, we got
fitted.
the brakes. Yeah, the brakes are set, and we've got the chocks in, and then the elevators are up to keep the tail down.
To keep the tail down.
The tail will fly out.
Yeah, we see that when they take off, the tail starts to fly so quickly. They're just barely at a roll.
Yeah, it doesn't take much.
Wow.
So 30, 40 knots is usually up off the ground.
So here's some questions we just got.
And I'm going to add some more.
Okay, we're getting more people. Chat, we have more people.
We're going to add some new people.
Introduce more people.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
He's got kind of a boring life and a boring day
Yeah,
job.
that's right.
But so what do you fly when you're not flying this?
I fly 747 for
Okay.
a major logistics company.
Wow.
Happens to wear the color brown a lot.
A major logistics company.
He dresses in brown.
Yeah, who could that be?
747.
We'll jump right in. He was just. Will you retell them what you were just telling me about having to fly at 13,000 feet?
Yes. So, with on the way over here from Iceland and also from Greenland, we ended up flying up at altitude 13,000 feet just to stay out of the icing.
Right.
And we have oxygen on board. None of us chose to use it, but after a couple hours, it tends to get a little tiring. And you can tell, even walking up the aisle, okay, it takes a little more effort when you're up at altitude like that. So, yeah.
Because this is one of the things about the plane we were talking about, it's not pressurized.
Correct.
So you fly in your commercial airliner or cargo
Correct.
plane or whatever, and you get the pressurized cockpit. So they fly up 35, 37, something like that.
Exactly.
These planes aren't pressurized. So the higher you get, it's like climbing a mountain, you have less oxygen to breathe.
Exactly right. It makes it harder to do things. So yeah, and after a couple hours, a couple of us would get headaches, and so we were happy to descend down to altitude and everything. So, yeah, very much so.
So did you fly all the way over with the plane as well?
I did, yes, exactly. So it was an incredible journey, almost 28 hours of flying, I think we had.
28
to get over from Washington, D.C. and everything.
Days.
So, yeah.
How many stops were there?
6 along the
Yeah.
way. Montreal,
Right.
and then Goose Bay, Canada,
Okay.
and then Narsarsuaq, Greenland, Reykjavik, and then Prestwick, and then here.
And then here.
Yep, exactly.
So the same sort of, I guess not the exact same route that they flew, but because the aircraft, you don't just hop on it like I did when I flew commercial and just straight across the Atlantic. They had the little stops that they would
Along the
make.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the old ferry run.
The old
Yes,
ferry.
exactly.
Yeah, the old ferry
Well,
run.
the spruce roots, as they call them.
Yeah, that's
There
right.
you go.
Yep.
That's right.
No
Exactly.
kidding.
So
So,
great time.
what's your position with the plane here? Are you a pilot?
I sit in the right seat. I'm the co-pilot.
Gotcha.
So very happy to just be tagging along and everything like that.
Just
so,
be happy to tagging
Yep.
along. That's how we
Absolutely.
feel.
It's exactly.
We all just do it for fun. so.
It's a labor of love for sure and everything.
Yeah.
So, but it's a great honor to be a part of it and everything like that. So.
Because this, like we were saying, this is sort of a side gig, right?
Yes.
You do this in your copious free time, I guess, when you're not
Exactly.
flying big brown
Whenever
planes.
we can put it together and things like that, exactly. So, but it's neat. We joke that so many times, okay, we work hard to get the next step. Well, it's nice to take the step back.
Yeah.
And everything like that. So, and a lot of folks will ask, hey, what's it like? Why are you flying the old airplane and everything like that? So we relate it to the classic cars.
Right.
Everybody loves the classic cars. We've got all the new bells and whistles and everything with the new ones and everything, but it's nice to just get
nice
in
to just
and drive.
And hear it purr.
Exactly. Exactly.
And be under the wing when it starts to purr, too.
It's a nice big wing.
The wing moves a lot, actually,
It
when it's
does.
just running
It
the
does.
engine.
So, yeah.
So here's a good question. What differences are there between this plane, the old technology, and the new planes that you fly?
Sure.
Is it all the new screens are all touch screens and everything? And
Yeah, exactly. That we call the new technology, we're children of the magenta line.
Okay.
It tells us where we go, the autopilot's on, the auto thrust
follow
is on, and we're really monitoring more than anything else.
Right.
Whereas this airplane, you do have to fly it the entire time.
Yeah.
There's
no just hit a button.
No, exactly. There's no autopilot on this one.
Right.
And so you are constantly flying the airplane, and even with folks moving in the airplane itself,
You feel it?
creates the pitch, attitudes, and changes. And
Tell
so
them about Here Comes the Coffee.
here comes, Bernie Gann, in his book Fate of the Hunter, talks about when he was flying in the airline and everything like that. And so his captain said, okay, here comes coffee. and he didn't know what that meant. But then he realized you could feel the change in the pitch as the flight attendant was walking forward
With the coffee.
With the coffee and everything.
They like trim it out or
it's
whatever.
The same thing. And so you learn to, okay, we're just going to ride with this a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll take a look around, make sure everybody's sat back down again. Then we'll retrim the airplane and everything. So
Wow.
it's just a different way of doing it. So.
God,
But-
it's a more visceral experience, honestly.
And you're always hands-on
Yeah.
with the airplane, so and just monitoring small changes and everything.
For 28 hours.
Well, not at a time.
Not at a time. But overall, that's a lot. That's a lot of
But still,
concentration.
after our 6-hour flight,
Yeah.
You feel it.
We were ready for a rest and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Did you take a few days off between flights, or do you just stop in one day?
Not by choice.
Not by choice.
Okay.
Because of weather.
Right.
We got stuck in Goose Bay for an extra day.
Okay.
And then wanted to.
Yeah,
But, it was nice. We would get in. We'd only do one leg a day.
Right.
And after that, we were ready for a break, and then we'd have about 18 hours off.
Gotcha.
Can we go inside?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's getting pretty windy out here.
Please.
Yeah.
Go right
Do we
ahead.
need to secure these? I don't want these blown around or anything.
They'll be all right. They'll be fine. You got them stacked
Okay.
up perfectly.
Just want to make sure.
Go right aboard. Absolutely. Help yourself.
Yeah.
All right,
Can you
Chad.
come with us and
Please,
talk to us
absolutely.
about? Okay.
We'll talk inside where there's slightly less wind.
That's right.
This
Please.
is beautiful.
Boy, she's beautiful. Holy
You've done a
cow.
nice job with herself.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And how long have you guys been in possession of the plane? How long has it been?
2011?
We'll ask them where to put
2011?
us. Make sure we're good. These chats.
Oh, wow.
Nice in here, actually.
Wow, this is nice.
And give me a status check while we're moving, chat. Give me a status check. I mean, how many hours of flying over here? 28?
28 hours to get over here, yeah.
You should see my car after our road trip. You're fine.
Right.
Yeah, well, yesterday morning we spent a fair portion cleaning the underside of the aircraft.
Yep.
It tends to get oil all over it, like the airplanes do, but which is a good thing.
Yep.
It's good that these engines burn oil. That's kind of standard for
It's like a
them.
normal thing.
It's a normal thing.
We saw him check, the oiler checked the dipstick yesterday and saw how much oil there was left in the
That's
engines. And we literally saw that yesterday.
Yeah, we saw that.
Yep, and that's something we do after every flight.
Yep.
To make sure, and certain engines, this one burns a little bit more than the right side, but they're at the same spot.
Just
So
keep-
at least
yeah,
you're not
exactly.
burning more, and all of a sudden he's not burning less. So it's kind of okay. Check the gas, fill the oil, sort of game. So
No kidding.
Yeah, but
Oh, so I think she's checking to make sure we're not going to be bothering anybody or
nope,
anything like that.
absolutely.
So,
Again, we love giving tours and showing folks the airplane and everything like that.
Well, this
so
is-
we got some family in town and everything.
you're giving a tour to 1,200 people right now.
excellent, perfect.
So no
Glad to have you all
pressure.
aboard. So.
No pressure.
And then
so-
there'll be people watching it later on because
Yeah.
we replay it over. So
Yeah,
for people in
yeah.
the States, yeah.
Fantastic.
All right, so should we move? What's our plan here?
Yeah, these lovely gentlemen are going to try to escape this.
Try to do a
Slide down the side. Yeah.
I told them not to make eye contact because otherwise,
They saw we had a
Right,
camera
don't-
and they're like,
yes,
That's right.
yeah,
That's usually our rule with you, otherwise.
right,
That's right.
Into something.
so we're going this way?
On this way.
right.
Come on up.
Yeah, go ahead up, guys.
All right, we're going up. Here we go. And the status check looks good. So now I'm going to take this off.
Right up into the front. You're more than welcome.
Yeah,
please.
let's get this off.
Wow. Stay
Set it right
close
over there.
and get the
Yeah,
mic
thank you.
cut out.
You've got the. There you go.
I'm close enough
Body
here.
pack static. Hey, if we need to shut the static off, all right, let us know. Where am I going?
Go ahead. Hop in the
you.
seat there. Just watch your step and everything. Grab
Yep.
a seat.
Which side? Does it matter?
Either one. Take the left side.
Take the left
Be the
side.
captain.
There's a lot less room in this one.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not opened up like that. Like Miss Montana.
Jeez.
So this is the front end of the DC-3.
It is the front end of the DC-3.
So it's got a couple of the new radios.
Oh, here,
and
look.
everything.
I'm going to do this right quick, too.
Nice.
If you don't mind. We
Please.
have a little quick. And then there's. It's going to have the fuzzy dice. You know something? I'm okay with it.
Exactly.
No
But
kidding.
This is all the old school knobs and fuel selectors and the old control wheel and everything.
Wow.
So it's pretty authentic up front. So except for the radios and gauges. So
There's one thing I can't share with you via video chat, and it's the smell. It smells good up here.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does
smells
smell
like
good.
the aviation fuel, the oil, all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
It smells like an old piece of hardware, which is a delicious smell, honestly.
Yep. Exactly.
But God, so what in here is sort of original, and what's upgraded?
So almost everything has been upgraded.
Okay.
At one point, the airplane went through a major rework back in the early 2000s, and then a company called Era Aviation in
Okay.
Alaska bought it, and they had 28 seats in the back, and they would give nostalgic tours out of Anchorage, Alaska.
Okay.
28 folks at a time and everything like that. So they did a bunch of this work.
It's like a sightseeing thing over the
Exactly.
glaciers and stuff like, or something like that.
Right. Exactly right. So, and they had a period flight attendant lieutenant and everything like that.
Really?
You
Like
know,
dressed up in the period
dressed
garb?
in 1940s garb, and they were playing big band music in the back while you're flying. It was
Really?
probably pretty cool. So.
God.
And then after September 11th, it was mandated to put a ballistic door.
The ballistic door.
And so it doesn't make any financial sense.
There's almost no room to do that
room
here.
To do it. It's worth more than the airplane.
Yeah.
At the time.
Wow.
So they chose not to do that. So then they shut that operation down, and then the airplane sat around for almost 10 years.
That's a shame.
Until the company bought it, and then has gone through and helped rework this and paint it up and redo the interior to colors it is.
It's really nice.
It is. He's done a nice job for it.
It's a fantastic. It's just a beautiful aircraft, and I'm a huge fan of these aircraft because they have such a stance sitting on the runway.
Yes.
Like these seats are really comfortable right now because it's kind of like a recliner.
That's right.
Not because the seat is leaning backwards, but because the plane is leaning backwards.
Yes, the whole entire aircraft and everything.
God, so most of the controls in here, these aren't like original.
No,
these are original, right?
These are original, yeah.
But the gauges and stuff.
Gauges and everything have been redone. Sure,
all right.
Exactly so.
It's still a fly-by. Like, is it cable control or
Absolutely.
how does it?
It's all
cables.
And it's very heavy on the controls, and so nothing happens fast.
Yeah.
But you want it to go someplace, you're going to need to put some in, and probably need to put some more in. It's very heavy on the controls and everything.
I mean, just imagine the planes that were landing here with the crosswind that we had earlier, and you could see them sort of crabbing in.
Yes.
This isn't like, oh yeah, it's just going to take care of it for you. This is you sitting here. Well, yeah, actually, I guess with the rudder mostly, trying to control the plane, and it's giving you feedback because there's a direct physical connection between your leg to the pedal, the cable that goes back to and the air hitting the control surface.
Exactly.
And it pushes, and you can feel it push back.
Absolutely. Yep. But
I mean, I imagine. I don't know. I haven't felt it. I'm just explaining to you my understanding of it. But
exactly.
Wow.
But yes, otherwise, a lot of the interior parts are original 1940s parts. In fact, I forget what was being replaced. The company has a huge set of stores.
Yeah.
And they went and found this part, and it was packaged back in 1944. Okay. And it was the original package.
Look at the original box.
The original box with the stamp and everything from the Douglas Aircraft Company.
Wow.
So, depending on what he has a bunch of pieces that are all original back in the original packaging and everything.
It's almost like you collect action figures or whatever, and they're in the original box. Well, these are plane parts we collect in the original box.
And you open it up and you say, man, that's what 1944 smelled like. So,
that 1944 air, like a musky sort of smell.
Exactly.
God, no
But yeah,
kidding.
so we've got some of the creature comforts up here
to
help us navigate. But otherwise, no autopilot.
No autopilot?
So somebody's always got to be flying the airplane and everything.
Right.
Usually the other person's busy monitoring engine gauges. We about every half hour, we take data to make sure that the engines are doing what they're supposed to, see if there's any trends to go with it so we can identify any issues or anything.
So a lot of stuff here is actually tuning the engines in flight, right?
Yes. This is the fuel.
Yep.
These are the throttles, and then these are the propeller controls.
Gotcha.
So
What do the propeller controls do? Are they pitch or are they what?
It's exactly pitch on the propellers.
The pitch on the
and
props.
And so depending on if you're taking off, we want them to turn as fast as they can. About 2,400 RPM or even 2,800 RPM.
Gotcha.
And then as we get up to climb, we'll work that back to about 2,050 RPM.
Okay, so
cruise.
So
cruise control.
There's pitch, right?
Yes.
Which is the angle that the blade is hitting the airflow.
Exactly.
And then you also said RPM. What's the relationship between the two?
Sure, absolutely. So between the two, you're developing a certain amount of power.
Right.
That the aircraft is, and depending on altitude, depending on how much air you have in the ambient pressure, you can generate
how much
more.
air you can ingest into the engine.
Exactly. And these airplanes used to have blowers.
Okay.
The turbochargers.
Essentially.
Yep. Yeah. And so we have it used to be a two-stage.
Right.
So we have a single-stage blower and everything. So
it's like an upgraded thing and a newer technology.
No, in fact, it's the older one.
The older one.
But we've just blocked out the second stage. So
okay.
It, helps maintain maintenance easier a little bit.
Gotcha. One less moving part in the already lots of moving parts.
One less thing to maintain. Exactly.
Gotcha. And find parts for, right?
That's right. So between the two, for takeoff, you want to generate as much power as you can.
Right.
And so we'll have the throttles full forward, as much fuel going into the engine, and then we'll have the propellers spinning as fast as possible.
As fast as possible.
So that we can get off the ground. And then shortly thereafter, okay, we're off the ground now. We settle into a climb cruise, and we'll bring back the power a little bit. We'll bring back the RPMs because we don't need them turning as fast. We'll turn about 2,300 RPM for the climb, about 3,600 RPM or 36 inches manifold pressure.
Okay, so I gotta understand this because we build these propeller games in our video game, right?
Yep.
And we do the same sort of things where you have the power level of the engine and you can feather the props different ways and all this sort of stuff, right? Or pitch the props different ways. the RPM, is it the feathering of the prop that increases the RPM, or what's the relationship? I got to understand the relationship.
Absolutely. So we use the throttles to create the power in the engine.
Right. So the engine is making X amount of power.
And make X amount of power.
Pushing this hard.
Manifold pressure.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Or it's spinning this hard. It's got this much torque. Is probably their torque and
One way to
horsepower,
look
right?
at it, yep, exactly. And then we can set the propeller RPMs as well to either generate more or less power from that.
More or less power.
Yes.
All right. So the propellers actually spin at varying rates. The engine can be spinning at how many RPMs? Like what's an RPM for the engine?
I honestly don't.
Oh, okay.
Know.
The engines are spinning at the right RPM.
Spinning at the power setting that we've got.
Right.
Again, the manifold pressure setting that we have.
Gotcha.
And then we translate that into power through the propellers.
Into power through the propellers.
Exactly. And so,
all right. And there's multiple. I guess the primary way that it does that is how much the propeller is pitched in the airflow.
Exactly. And
so that's what these two things do.
What you're trying to do to climb, you would have the the propeller set at a higher RPM.
Right.
And then once you get up to altitude and you're cruising, you'll bring that back. Decreases fuel flow, lowers the noise, everything like that.
Gotcha.
So it's like gears in a car.
It is. It's like gears in a car. You just flip your propeller blades a little bit, and that gears you to different cruise modes or whatever.
Upshifting,
yeah,
exactly.
Like off the line versus now we're just cruising on the highway.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So,
I mean, I'm not a pilot, right? Clearly.
Nope.
The last guy was like, yeah, I picked up on that. Jeez.
Asking all the right questions, though.
I love to understand this stuff, and I love to help other people understand sort of what it is. All right, there's some. What are these knobs up here? Are those useful?
Carb.
The carb.
If we have to have carb heat.
Okay.
So as the air comes into the engine, sometimes it can generate ice.
Right.
And so we can add heat to that air
to make sure that it doesn't ice up.
It doesn't ice up and block the throttle bodies, so which would restrict how much power we can make.
Do you know the mechanism by which it adds heat to the engine? Is it like an exhaust recirculation thing or an electric heater?
No, it's actually ducting air over the exhaust manifold.
Okay.
And then so it's warming
the
air.
It's using the exhaust heat.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And we do the same thing for us. We don't actually have a heater in the airplane. We duct air over the heater and duct it over the exhaust and then run it into the air.
Blow it into the inside.
Exactly.
So it's the same sort of way your car works, right? In your car, you have the engine, which makes lots of heat, and to get your heat inside the car, you'll actually blow air through the exchange, I guess, and then blow it into the car to warm up the car. Same thing on the airplane.
Same thing on this one.
You don't need like a separate heater somewhere.
Some of the airplanes do.
They do, okay.
Have a separate heater and everything.
Okay, but on this one, just take it off the engines.
We had more than enough heat getting across, even up at 13,000 feet.
So does it get cold in the cockpit here at 13,000 feet?
It can. If we didn't have our heat, absolutely it would.
No
Very
kidding.
much so. Uncomfortably cold.
Uncomfortably cold.
Uncomfortably cold. So.
How does it relate with like ground level temperature? Like it's, however many degrees, like 70 degrees on the ground. Is it 50 degrees up there? Negative 50 degrees up there?
It could be up to about 30 degrees freezing.
Wow.
Up at altitude like that. So, and this airplane is not as sealed as most airplanes are.
Right.
And so we do have little leaks around the airplane and things like that. And in fact, right out front here's the cowl, or the radome.
Right.
And so there are little gaps around it. So we get little leaks.
You get little air leaks.
Exactly. So it does tend to be a little cool up here.
Yeah.
And so we'll regulate the valve that helps that air come around the exhaust.
Just how much you get into here,
How much
right?
heat do we want in here and things like that. Yes, exactly.
And I guess you wouldn't need air conditioning, right?
No, although, down low, we do have a couple of ducts, and we have, like in the airplanes you have nowadays, the little vents.
Yep.
Those along the sides there,
really?
Too. Absolutely. And so we've got a couple intakes there, so it's almost like the two are working against each other.
But that's just outside air.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's that cold air, and so if we have some leaks back there, and so as you work your way back through the airplane, it tends to get colder and colder.
It tends to get colder the further you get back.
No exactly.
So again, this is another thing, right? You've probably traveled on a commercial airliner, and the commercial airliners are pressurized, and they're temperature controlled and all this sort of stuff, and you're flying up at 35,000 feet, and then outside the window, it's like negative 20 sometimes. Right? I don't know the exact temperature, but it's really cold outside, but you don't know it because you're in this climate controlled aircraft, right? Yep. And when you're in an aircraft like this that's not pressurized, it's not sealed from the outside. These are just sliding windows, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They just slide open.
Just slides open.
Right? Not pressurized at all.
Yep.
So it's a different thing. You're a little bit closer to the environment outside whenever it's like I'm gonna get a breeze. You're closer to the outside environment. You feel a little bit more.
Exactly. And the noise of the engines and the props and everything. So yeah, there's a lot going on, but it's a lot of fun at the same time.
No kidding. Do you mind if I see if there's any time for questions?
Sure. Absolutely.
Do we have a couple minutes?
Go right ahead.
All right. So chat, here we'll try this again. I know that I baited you with questions earlier and I said, let's ask some questions, and then we talked about something completely different. Now I haven't been reading chat because honestly I'm in the cockpit of a DC-3 and I love you, but not that much. So now I'll take some time to actually read some chat. Here you go. Does the DC-3 have any flight quirks? Does it porpoise?
Only if the pilot makes it do that.
Only if the pilot makes it do that.
The landing itself can be challenging depending on the conditions and everything like that. And if the landing's not done right, sometimes you'll see the airplanes do
a little hop.
Exactly. So if you touch down too fast because of where the center of gravity is,
right,
it'll pull the tail down, and then the airplane will fly again, and then it's this little thing at the end there that can be challenging to manage.
And we see them coming in for the landings, and the big main gear, right, touchdown first, and you almost continue to fly the plane down the runway while maintaining contact.
What we'll do is we will push the yoke forward to ride on the wheels more so, to push the tail up a little bit.
Really? So
that we stay on those main wheels.
Yeah, so
to
you
keep it from porpoising.
You don't want it to bounce out and boing, 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 right?
Correct.
God, so it's just, for me, like watching the planes land is one of the most nerve-wracking parts of it is right when those wheels touch down. And it's still an aerodynamic object, honestly.
You're still flying the airplane.
Flying the aircraft while the wheels...
flying the airplane.
God.
Yes. The entire time, even till when the tail wheel comes on the ground.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how do you do that, right? You've got the main wheels down and you start to slow down, I guess. How do you actually transition to touch the tail wheel down?
Actually, you just more so just hold the controls you have.
Right.
And as the speed slows down, there's not as much force on the tail to hold it up.
So it
gently settles is ideally what you'd like it to do.
Gotcha. So you don't want to slam it down or anything like that. You just want it to gently...
You just let it fly itself down, and then once it gets on the ground, we'll pull the yoke all the way back, then to hold it.
And that pushes it down.
We'll hold it down, exactly.
So it's not even like you really do anything with the controls. All right, now let's put the tail down. Okay, you just sort of let the airflow, the natural lift.
Exactly.
Let it down slowly.
It decays on its own. Exactly right.
Well, that sounds easier now that he said that. I'm like, I thought it was like nerve-wracking. Like, all right,
easier said than done.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, though. So.
God, we'll have to try on one of the flight simulators, and I can not do it correctly a few hundred times before I get it right.
Exactly.
God, I'm gonna keep on going through some questions. How much oil do the engines use per hour?
Okay.
And can we still get that type of oil?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So each engine has a 28-gallon oil tank, and depending on the engine, the right engine tends to use about a quart an hour.
Okay.
And the left engine uses about 2 quarts an hour.
And that's just of these engines, these two specific engines.
That's these specific engines.
The rings and the seals and all that sort of stuff, and the age they've got.
But that's also, in fact, that's kind of less than what they used to use.
Really?
So we've done a pretty good job of getting the engines tightened up and everything like that. And so we're going to work on the left side, trying to tighten it up a little bit and things like that.
You just got to run it some more. No.
But when we left, we took off with about 30 gallons of oil in the back with us. With us across the ocean.
And then you just check it on occasion.
Every time we'd land, we'd check the oils, and if we had to add oil, we'd add
top it off.
Yep.
Exactly. It probably has like a minimum, like an operating level or something like that.
Exactly. We usually run with about 24 gallons to start with, and then we'll reset it to 24 or 25, depending on what kind of leg we got coming up.
No kidding.
Yeah.
This is a good question, Dutch guy. There's names here that I'm reading as we go.
Perfect.
Quintessa asks, can you ask if the DC-3 had the turboprop upgrade when they got it?
No, this airplane was scheduled to have the upgrade.
Okay.
But when Era Aviation found the airplane, they hadn't done that yet. And so they were able to leave the radial engines on.
And so these are the original type of engines.
The original type of engines,
not the turboprop upgrade.
So yes, there are many aircraft that have been converted to the turboprop version.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, in Vanguard 68 there, we are sitting in the cockpit of the Clipper Tabitha May.
Yeah.
That's the name of the aircraft, right?
Right here.
You're right. That's
right
the aircraft we're sitting in right now.
Exactly.
Good catch.
Yep.
Let's see here. I'm still scrolling through. How long have you been a pilot for?
How long have I been a pilot?
Yeah. And then specifically with this plane, how long have you been involved with DC-3s?
I've been involved in aviation all my life. I was born into an airline family.
Yeah.
Dad was a pilot, so I was very lucky to know from a very young age that what I wanted to do. And started flying when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
Trying to solo as much as I could and everything. And then, but really professionally since year 2000.
Wow.
I got my first actual flying job for an airline.
Getting paid for it.
Getting paid
for it.
Exactly. Besides flight instructing.
Yeah.
And then, they bought the airplane back in 2011, and we've started flying really mostly since 2013 in this aircraft. So.
Do you have like a yearly checkup you have to go through or get certified or?
Not with this aircraft.
Not with this
we
aircraft.
Just have to maintain currency in it.
Okay.
But for my other job, yes, every year I go through recurrent training every year. In fact, every 6 months on the aircraft that I'm on. So.
God.
Yep.
No kidding.
So
there's so many questions, right? I'm not going to be able to get to all the questions. And when you're starting to run out of time, just be like, all right, dude.
Keep going. Absolutely.
We'll sit here all day.
Sure.
Is it possible to do a 3-point landing landing in a DC-3?
It is possible.
Bad idea?
Not preferable.
Not preferable.
It's tougher to really make it perfect.
Yeah.
Because if you think you're trying to get all 3 wheels to touch at the exact
same time,
really hard to make it happen.
And you probably really don't want the tail wheel to touch first.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. So you would be sitting just like we're sitting right now.
Yep.
And most of us are just not used to that. It's preferable to do the wheel landings.
Oh, that's right. Because if the wheel touches first, you get the pitch on the entire aircraft. So you're sort of looking up at the sky instead of down the runway.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So yeah.
I can tell because I'm sitting in the cockpit of a DC-3. I don't know if I mentioned that. How careful do you need to be with the brakes when you land? So do you touch the brakes? Are there brakes?
There are brakes. In fact, they're the original brakes.
The original brakes.
Some of the aircraft have converted them to
Right.
disc brakes like you have on your car.
We saw that, the disc brakes we saw, Chad.
Exactly, but
It's
these
like
are
a
the
drum
original
brake.
brakes. They're called expander tubes.
Right.
You're using pressure to expand the tubes to activate the brakes and everything like that, and they are very effective.
Really?
Sometimes overly effective.
Overly
And
effective.
So we really try not to use the brakes, in fact.
Gotcha.
And there's different ways to do that. We'll leave the flaps out,
Right.
creating aerodynamic drag.
More drag, yep.
Instead that way. So trying just to be on speed at the appropriate time in the pattern and everything like that. So we don't have to use the brakes.
There's not like a thrust reverser on the props or anything,
Nothing
right?
we can do with that here.
Nothing with that.
Nope.
All right. So the props don't go past a certain direction and
Nope.
start blowing
No
forwards,
reverse.
right?
No
They wouldn't
reverse.
cool off the crowd or anything. So
right.
not a
exactly.
feature.
Nope. Good
God.
question.
So you really don't mess with the brakes at all during
We try
landing.
to avoid using the brakes, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Except for really parking airplanes.
Sort of follow-up question. We've seen some of the tail wheels turning.
Yes.
Right? Are the
Yes.
tail wheels just connected right to the rudder? Or is there a separate control for the tail
They're
wheel?
fully cast-ring tail wheels.
Fuller
And
cast-
so
all right.
Right here, this is a tail wheel lock.
Okay.
And so what we do is as we take the runway,
Right.
we will lock the tail wheel so that it's tracking straight down the runway.
Just straight down the runway.
So it's now locked. It
Okay.
drops a pin in, locks it so we're flying straight down the runway like
Gotcha.
that. And then when we get off the runway and we're trying to park like this, we will unlock the tail wheel.
Right.
And mostly we'll use differential power.
Okay, so one engine pulling harder than the other.
Exactly. Push the airplane around. And so then the tail wheel will spin and caster on its own.
So the tail wheel just sort of free rotates.
Free rotates,
Okay, so
exactly.
it's not like a powered tail wheel where
not
you
steerable.
rudder it and that actually moves the reel. You
Right.
just rev up one engine, whereas rev up. He's like, what a dumb term. You just produce
true.
more thrust from one of the engines
That's
than the
right.
other, and you use the differential thrust to turn the aircraft.
Exactly.
So as this is especially important. We've seen a lot of DC-3s, the C-47s, taxiing around and ending up right in the position. This isn't the sort of thing where it's like a steering wheel, like, oh, let's back in and parallel park. This is the sort of thing where to turn the aircraft, you change the engine output.
Right. And
Mostly.
if we can, we use the rudders
Use a
as
little
well
bit of rudder?
A little bit of rudder to help it, exactly. So.
God.
Yep.
And yeah, that was like 10 questions on one question. So let's keep going. Yes, now I know everything I need for my first test flight.
That's right.
When do we start?
That's right. Come on over.
Gosh. We got that one. We flying the plane. Steer on the ground. We got that one. There's 1,000 people watching
great.
us do this right now.
That's great.
The linkage for on-ground steering. Yeah, you're right, because Defiant, you were saying that about a linkage. We like to see these planes. Oh, here you go. Will the type of fuel still be affordable? Like, is this some sort of special, like, antique fuel?
It's not antique fuel. No, it's what's available and what folks use flying a 172.
Okay.
Same fuel, 100 low lead.
All right.
Now, depending where you are,
It's more expensive.
It's more expensive, especially in Europe. They just don't do as much flying as we do in the United States. And so one of the things we've had to do with all this is we've had to pre-position fuel. And so when you do that, yes, now you're adding cost to it. We're talking about going flying in Europe.
Right.
Well, it's a prudent decision to call ahead.
And make
A lot of places
sure-
don't have the fuel, and if they do, they probably don't have as much as we're going to need.
Right. How much do you need? Fuel tanks are somewhere.
This airplane will carry 800 gallons of fuel.
Right.
And so, a 172 carries about 50. And so a lot of times they'll have, only 400 liters on the field here.
On the entire field.
And, we could take up to 2,800 liters maybe, depending on how much fuel we need.
So I just thought I was going to be super slick, right? And I was like, oh, where's the fuel gauge?
fuel gauge?
It's somewhere here.
It's right over here.
It's over that way. It's different fuel gauges than I saw before.
Exactly.
And I was like, no, it's not where I thought. I got caught.
Be confident and sell it.
I tried.
That's all you gotta do. Exactly.
But then I come clean afterwards as well.
Right.
So.
That's right. Honesty.
So this has a couple other navigation stuff in here?
Yeah, this is a combination navigator and radio. made
Okay.
by Garmin.
Okay.
It does a lot of aviation information there, so it's a great multi-use capability. This is aviation radar.
It looks like an old school TV.
It's an old school radar, exactly. So, and then we got another radio, as well as an ADF.
Yeah.
And a couple other older radios that we need. But yeah, we primarily
use
the
that?
Garmin, absolutely, and it'll draw the map for us. We can load a route.
Yep.
And use it to help navigate. So
You follow the magenta line, is
Follow
what you
the
said?
magenta line,
The children of the magenta line?
Children of the magenta line, exactly, exactly.
Do you know this looks like an old school CRT?
Yes.
Is it actually a CRT?
Yes.
Like a little
Yes.
tube instead of
Yep.
kids these days don't know with their flat screens and stuff, right? But that it actually looks like a little tube radar.
It is, exactly. So doesn't work very well. So
Doesn't work very well.
Doesn't work very well.
It
Hardly
looks
ever
cool
use it.
though.
In fact, we try not to have to be anywhere where we would have to use it. So
God.
Yep.
So here's another question about the startup. Noticed on startup it didn't look like there was an external power. Does it have like an APU or something, or do the engines start themselves? Or?
We have batteries.
You have batteries.
Internal batteries. We have two
Gotcha.
batteries that we use, and that generates the power for the starter.
For the starter?
Exactly, and the fuel pump that we have at the time, and then once the engine started,
Right.
we have a couple of generators as well as an inverter that provide power to the aircraft for all the systems.
And so I'm looking around again. I just looked up here and I was like, all right, yesterday. But the switches are different.
Yes.
Than the
every
plane we were
airplane-
in different.
Every airplane has a different setup.
So even I sort of know what I'm looking for, right?
Yep.
And I sort of glance in the right direction and I can read prime and start and that sort of stuff. There's a boost and everything,
Yep.
but the switches are different.
Correct.
So just because you know the switch you're looking for doesn't necessarily mean it's in the exact same position.
That's right. You could probably go to every airplane here,
Yeah.
425 airplanes, and all the switches would be in different places.
God.
And so you really learn your airplane.
Your airplane.
Your airplane.
And this is it's like you're on a DC-3, like, yeah, I know how to fly a DC-3, right? But
Right.
sitting down in this DC-3
That's right.
might be different than sitting down in the next DC-3. So
Exactly.
part of it's just acclimating yourself, familiarizing yourself with the aircraft you're in.
Exactly right.
And you spend a lot of time in that.
Well, very similar to cars.
Yeah.
You get in.
Where's the windshield
You get in
wipers?
the VW, exactly. How do you turn the lights on?
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing.
Where's
Exactly.
cruise control?
Where are
Like-
all the switches? That's the big
God.
deal. Yep, very much so.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Duxford is amazing. Chad, I agree. Oh no. Does this DC-3 have USB ports anywhere?
You want?
We were bagging on the last DC-3 a little bit.
If you look to your left,
Oh, there are.
look at that.
Saber, I don't know if you can get them, but they're USB ports right here.
We have USB ports installed because we fly with our EFKs.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So
You have like
yes,
an
we do.
iPad on your lap or something? Or?
Well, that's a mount right next to
Oh,
you. There.
it's a mount.
That's-
This is an iPad mount.
That's an iPad mount right there.
This is the same thing I use for my cameras.
There you
it's
go.
the same little adjustable mount.
Same one. No sense leaving the new school tech behind ahead of us. So.
Okay, Chad got a laugh out of that. There are.
Yeah,
Did you get them on the camera? Could you see
yeah.
them?
Yeah, we got them on this side too. So absolutely.
Both sides.
In fact, had them installed specifically for this flight.
For this flight.
For this flight. To
They're
get us
brand
over
new?
there. Yeah, they're brand new. So.
So here's another question,
Yeah.
right? To keep the plane flying, to install an upgrade like that
Yeah.
or something like that, where's the funding for this aircraft come from?
There's a company that owns the airline,
Right.
or owns the airplane and
There's the-
everything, and so we did try and do a little fundraising
Right.
before we left and everything. Reached out to a couple different folks to see if they would be willing to support
Corporate
as well.
sponsors and individuals and that sort of
But
stuff?
mostly it's provided by the company that owns the airline.
The company that owns the airline.
airplane. I should
Gotcha.
say so, yep.
Yeah, the airplane. And this is like a special event, so it's like, hey,
Yes.
to get us over to the decks over.
Absolutely. An opportunity that we could not pass up.
Yeah,
so.
no kidding. We know how that is. Is there? I think we have a website or something. Chad or somebody in the mods, if y'all could put the website. I know that he looked it up earlier,
Yeah, I put
but
a link on there.
did you put the link in there?
I did. I can do it again.
Oh, there you go.
CooperTabithaMay.com.
Cooper, there you go. ClipperTabithaMay.com.
Yep.
Put the link. There you go. Look at all the links going in the
See?
chat. So if you want more information on the aircraft or how you can help support operations like this, I don't know
That's
if you still have like a fundraising link up or something like that.
DDaysquadron.org, and you can support whichever airplane you might like to.
No kidding.
Absolutely, but yeah.
DDaysquadron.org.
Yep.
I hadn't been to that one yet.
Yep, Dax over Normandy is the main group and everything
Yep,
like that. But ours
yep.
is ClipperTabithaMay.com.
So I can't tell you, Chad, and I'm speaking to Chad here, how important it is that we continue to maintain aircraft and experience like this. It's not just the
Yep.
aircraft. Oh, all right, I'll be quiet.
Good view. good view.
Look at this. So it's so important to maintain these aircraft. So if there's something that you can do to support, chip a couple bucks in, spread the word so that people know what's going on. You want to still see things like this. That's all, brother, going down the runway or to go down the taxiway right there, going to take off again. Are there jumpers in there?
Yes, this is going to be the jump.
This is going to be the jump.
Yeah, these are the jump aircraft.
Look at the All right, as we go through, see if we can see the windows.
You can see all the packs.
You can see the packs.
of the everybody who's going to jump. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, go ahead.
Randazzo, you up there?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
You know, do we have a funnel on board?
Do we have a funnel?
Yes.
Ooh. There's the one back here I know that we use for the hydraulics.
That would work. They just want to borrow it.
Okay, we got to get into this panel up here then. So.
Okay.
'Cause I think he's got it down inside here.
All right, we clear out for a second, or which panel are you going to?
No, we're going into this one. All
right.
Where's our flathead? Do we have a flathead back there, Paul?
We can go see the takeoff too.
So yeah, you can see the guys in the back there with all
Yeah.
the jump equipment ready to go. So
Okay, that's cool.
I think there's 6 airplanes.
And these are all, they've got the C-47s here.
Yes.
With the actual jump doors on them, as
Correct.
opposed to the passenger doors like we got on this one.
Yeah.
And none of these things I knew basically yesterday morning.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know most of this.
You're getting an education in a hurry. So.
I am. And then I act like I knew it, like,
Oh yeah.
God,
That's an amazing sight, isn't it?
it really is.
You back there, Paul? Nope.
No, he's not.
Okay.
Were they looking for a,
Looking for a
flathead?
flathead,
Yeah. One thing I don't have in my little kit here, because it flew over, so I guess I flew commercial over, so I had to leave all my
That's right.
tools behind. God. Can I slide this open? in
Yeah,
there?
absolutely.
Like,
Perfect.
get a little bit of
Here he
ambiance
comes.
from it.
He's coming now.
All right. So yeah, you can see the packs with their static lines there. So
Yeah. Oh, that's Miss Montana.
Yep.
Right there. Nice. And so that's one that doesn't have the paint job for the DC-3, right?
Correct.
Or no, it has the DC-3 sort of livery paint job, but it's got the door so that you can actually jump out of it.
Well, because that was a smoke jumper aircraft.
Yeah, that was the smoke jumper airplane. You're right, up in Missoula.
Yeah.
Gosh.
The smoke jumper.
And another
aircraft.
thing to look
Legend.
at, Saber, I don't know if you can get them as they're taxiing, but look at the orientation of the tail and the door. When the plane is actually sitting on the runway like this, it looks like if you stepped out that door, then you would end up in the tail. But when you're flying, that tail is actually much higher up. And so when you jump, you go out the side of the plane and you go underneath the tail. God. We good on the screwdriver situation?
we got the screwdriver, we got the funnel out.
All right.
We got maintenance going on.
Maintenance. It's an
Maintenance
active
is going on.
It's an active aircraft
That's
right now, chat.
Everything's going on. So. Absolutely.
No kidding. So I think what we might want to do here is actually go and get the takeoffs of these
Absolutely.
planes.
Go watch
about to
that.
transition.
Yeah, and I'll button up the window here.
You're fine. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for the
They're just gonna jump straight out over the runway, right?
I think so. Do we know where they're going to jump?
I don't know how long they're going to take to form up those.
Gotcha.
questions,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see the takeoffs.
Right.
We
Well,
may
yeah,
end up
see
back
your
inside. The tripod. Good call.
Yep.
All right.
So I don't know if they're jumping here or not, or if they're jumping over the beach.
Yep.
I don't know.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
gotcha.
it'll probably take some time to I
get
think
it organized and stuff
that they're going to jump here. But I
with
can't
all the
say for
people.
sure.
Yeah. All right.
Yep, I would
Good
think
deal.
so, but
Thank
yep.
you so much for the time.
Absolutely.
This is amazing.
Pleasure.
Thanks for sharing your experience and
Thanks for
knowledge.
doing what you guys are doing. We'd
Oh.
love to get more kids involved, and a lot of times it's just getting down to the airport and seeing who's there and things like that.
Good
Most
deal.
of these operations, love to get kids out there and show them around, and if we can get just one or two to help us out and
One more bit of interest.
get into
Yeah.
flying, absolutely, it's a great opportunity for everybody. So.
Absolutely. Well, if you have anywhere you need us to be, just tell
Nope,
us.
absolutely, help
Like,
us out.
I mean,
We're
we
glad
just-
to have you here. Glad to have
Other
you here.
events or anything?
That's
Like,
right.
have camera will travel.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. So, but
All right. Well,
Yeah.
let's go on back
Hop
out
on
this
the
way
back,
and get
sure.
set up.
All right.